when it comes to the musical scene,
Right.
if you had to choose jazz or soul music.
Fuck. Damn, that's hard.
Not to put you on the spot in that way, but
I might have to go with soul. I might have to go with soul because like one of my favorite artists is James Brown. So like, I James Brown's under soul funk. I might as well go. I love jazz too. Like
But soul is closer and tied to the hip hop scene. Okay, Sade or Lauryn Hill?
Sade.
Why is that?
Come on, she's timeless.
Body of work.
Body work. I mean, I remember when she first came out, and even up to now, she's consistent. Even if she hasn't been around, like she's gone for like good 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, comes back, still has it. Lauryn Hill, you remember she was a rapper, so
Then sang.
I mean, she can sing, but it's like rappers got egos. I mean, so do singers. Got divas and shit like that, but
Right.
She's not consistent. Like after her first album, then what happened? Well, being married to one of the Marleys can make you go crazy.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I better not say.
So Sade.
Yeah, Sade.
Okay. Bahamadia or Ladybug Mecca?
Bahamadia.
Why Bahamadia?
Skills. She's consistent. Still kill it. Ladybug. I get it. Why people like the Diggable Planets, but in terms of the time, as an MC, Bahamadia has it. She's had skills. Not saying that Ladybug, but she was just more like, hey, what's up?
Right.
She could spit, but like Bahamadia was like, you didn't consider her as a female rapper. She was a spitter. She could hang with the big boys and stuff. You didn't care if she was a female or not. She was that dope.
And honestly, she was one of the few MCs that felt equal right away.
Oh no, it's like there's only a few of them. There's like MC Light, Lady of Rage, Bahamadia.
Yo-Yo was kind of I thought she was a dope.
Queen Latifah, like she like like that whole. There's only a handful, even though there were only a handful of females, but those are the ones that just like they were dope. No matter regardless of what sex they are, they were dope. You didn't care if they're pretty good for a female rapper because being an MC back then, it's you had to come with it, especially if you're a female or if you're a different ethnic. You really had to, the bars were set high during those times, not compared to now. I mean, no, I mean depending on where you look at it, but back then it was like it's all about skills.
Okay. Bruce Lee or Hickson Gracie?
Bruce Lee, just because he influenced everybody one way or another. Like just none of his movies is just his philosophy. I mean, Hickson's the greatest, but I mean, philosophy-wise, you gotta look at it. If you even take out even the martial art aspects, the way how Bruce Lee is his philosophies is just like some applying applying changes and stuff. Like you. Like be water, my friend. Come on,
the theory, the principle, the
exactly
religious aspect,
right?
And I don't. You correct me on this statement. The fact that blacks in the Afrocentric film movement embraced kung fu.
Well, because you know why? Because Bruce Lee was also against the establishment at the time, so he's like, yeah, he's giving it to the man. So it's just the fact that it's like that he's also ethnic minority. So I think that's why the brothers, African Americans, gravitated to the Bruce Lee because he's one, he was a badass, and two, he was just like he was all against, it was all about the cause, about like, fuck the establishment type thing. I mean, he was working within the establishment, but if you look at it, he was just like, he's, he had to go through a lot of shit too to get through where he's at, like he was a groundbreaker for a lot of things. Who do you thought back then is like even having a interracial marriage, having a white, a Chinese
in real life aside from his movies, right.
A real, during those times, what, the 60s and 70s and stuff, having a Chinese man straight from Hong Kong marrying a white woman is even like unheard of, let alone like back then, like having a African American wearing marrying a white woman. Like that was, that's. He changed a lot of, that's groundbreaking a lot of things. Like he set the precedent for a lot of things to happen to what we can have right now.
And what did you say in this post-racial world? I mean, for Asian Americans, not to make it Asian-centric, but it's not post-racial still.
No, there's still
right.
There's always gonna be some type of racial. Maybe it's kind of like in some places it's like you can't tell, but still there's still. I mean, it's like depending where the area you live in. Like here in LA, it's a very even though it's like still somewhat segregated, it's still more of a multicultural, a little bit more like unless you go like maybe more like Middle America or something like that.
Then that
it's a different story, or even different areas of like the country or even the world or something. You never know, because like even like this with like I'm flipping on some Asian American shit, like being Filipino, like say. Yeah, Filipinos coming from the Philippines, coming to the United States, they're considered FOBs, fresh out the boats.
Right.
But me being Filipino, I identify being Filipino because my parents are Filipino, even though I grew up in the United States. So, but in the United States, we're considered, we're Filipinos, we're Asians, we're not, but the irony is when you go to the Philippines,
you're the American.
I'm the American. They don't consider me, even though I'm Filipino blood. If I don't speak Tagalog or anything like that, they don't look. You're not really Filipino. So that's the irony of the irony of both things.
And that is a big sociological gap.
Right. And then even you think about that in the Philippines, I even heard that like light skin and dark skin. It's the same.
Colonially, right?
Right.
It's prevalent in the Mexican American culture. It's prevalent with blacks.
Right. Exactly. It's so much ingrained from so much history of a lot of things. So it's like even sometimes there, like we all get along. There's always some type of DNA thing that's like, it's in our blood one way or another. For each ethnic groups one way or another. So
Can you give me 5 more minutes of dropping some knowledge like this, brother? You got it? Okay. Yeah. So now you're segging this the right way, Pacquiao or Tyson?
Pacquiao or Tyson?
Yeah.
Damn. That's a good one, man. I mean...
like your gut. Your gut, man. No thinking. Your gut and your heart. If you could connect those two, which one do you choose? Which one do you choose?
I mean, of course I'm going to be going toward Pacquiao just because, I mean, man, I'm a big Tyson fan.
Okay, but here's the problem here, okay? Here's the problem here.
Right.
Who do we see first is Tyson. He was magnificent, right? He was magnanimous.
He was like, man, that's the man right there. I don't know if you heard the story about when he knocked out Mitch Green.
Mitch Green was on TV flexing my non-bicep
Mm.
on the camera. Tyson is a homo, and he was flexing his bicep to it. And then the following video right there, dude, it looked like he ran into a fucking Chevy.
His eye was like, hey,
right
there. Because I think it happened was at a clothing Dapper Dan's clothing store. He was talking shit to like, why you ducking me? Or I don't know exactly, but I just remember he just said like that, and his mic just go,
bam,
right. And the fact that like Mike was also like. He was being molded by I can't even say his name. Customato, is that right?
Customato,
yeah.
yes.
The fact that like if you really listen to Mike, as much as with his lisp and kind of like sometimes he goes on a tangent, he's a very intelligent person, like very knowledgeable of boxing. Like the way when you hear him, it's like, dude, how he knows about this shit? And the fact that because he's Cuss was training
Mighty
him,
Customato,
right?
man.
Yeah. So I mean, even up to now, like of all the crazy shit that he went through. To hear him now is like he's now more mature, and he even said himself he's a very intelligent brother, like very, it's just the way intellectually, I mean, like imagine if Cuss didn't pass away.
Oh, he would be the greatest.
He would be the greatest.
He would be the greatest just because of the disciplinary lineage and parental guidance by Cuss. So
in terms of boxing wise, I say Tyson, but on some other level shit, Pacquiao, and I'll tell you a reason why. Who'd have thought a Filipino from the Philippines can actually, like you got to think of it as on some
social thing,
because like you never think Filipinos most of the times for us, like most of the times, I always say this too. Like Filipinos are very talented, but we're known for more being imitators instead of originators.
Right.
You know, if you go like I remember always watching when my parents watched like the GMA Super Show or Sharon Kanita, and they would sing. They're like great singers, but they always never like unless they're singing.
They wouldn't write their own. Put out their own.
They would perform whatever was popular at the time, right? And that's cool. And it's like, but what's separating them? Like, you know, okay, that's cool. You can sing Michael Jackson. You can sing whatever the hottest, but what's gonna make you stand out? Like
I have
that?
a sub theory. I need you to check on me.
Okay,
check me on this. Okay.
Go on.
So I'm saying my theory, and then you correct me on this.
All right,
okay.
All right.
There's a colonial aspect where we came from the Itas, the Proto-Malaysians, Proto-Indonesians,
Right.
Spanish, Chinese.
Right.
There's that aspect.
Right.
The other aspect is it was so critical during World War II.
Right.
When the American soldiers saved us.
Right.
Now we looked west because we became the salvaged hut people.
Right.
And I think that really traversed the thinking, because if you think about like 1916 when the Spanish, when we were post-revolution of the Spanish, then it felt kind of like us, even though the Americans helped us.
Right.
But do you think a lot of it is because of World War II?
I mean, I think a lot of
and the saving of it.
Could be. I mean,
Joe and Jay, if one of you guys can come up, what do you guys think about that? You know, in regards to this sociological thing. This is Joe Olivares. You met him today, right? So what do you think about that?
Say again.
Why we look west? Maybe at this particular point, right?
Oh, it's from the beginning, since the Spanish. So yeah, we've always kind of looked up to the white person, essentially.
Guys? Sorry, we're picking up the pace now, so that's good.
Like, there's, you know, the traditional Filipino folk dances. There's one where they take a time period like in the 20s where Filipinos are dancing to like what flappers are dancing to. Right. We've always like looked to the West for our cues, and I don't know, it's like a little brother syndrome.
Right.
How about what do you feel about our
I think that's part of it, you know, like, but see, like when I was looking at it too, because like I always wonder, like, now being immersed in hip hop and shit. In hip hop, the culture of hip hop, you basically want to be a original. Now, coming up during that time, you know, like I said, Filipinos were always been the hip hop, but it was also like a bubble, a circle. They don't want to venture out. You know, like they were very talented cats, but they were like only would stay in this thing. Now, I remember to order really like man, I want to see, like, okay, that's cool and all, but let's see how you do against some of the, you know, like real cats, because, you know, to be legitimized and respecting hip hop, you gotta go against some of the best, and some of the, you know, like, and sometimes they will not go outside, they just be comfortable within this thing.
It's the hut syndrome, right?
Yeah, right. You know, like
the tribe
thing. You know, and it's even kind of weird. You know, if you want to even break it down, it's like also like, oh, you're Tagalog or you're Ilocano, or like, you know, like there was that tribal thing where it's just like also like just because you're Filipino, but it's like, oh, if you're Ilocano or you're Tagalog, we can't get along.
And for the listening and viewing audience, what Rhettmatic is talking about are the separate, both provincial and identical identities to the Filipinos.
Yeah, like the dialects, you know, like
the dialects and that ethnicity that comes with it.
Right. So, in terms of hip hop, learning from what I've learned coming up during the cultures, like you got to be, you know, like you have to be original. You got to be, you know, you're an individual. You can't be like following. You can't follow someone. Like the term back then we were growing up was biting.
Yeah,
which is meaning copying or emulating and stuff. Sometimes, you know, emulating.
That's gone, by the way. Now all kids are fighting. By the way, just to sound like an old piece of shit right now.
Yeah.
You know,
but back then, you know, like if you were to copy someone else's style, you would not be respected.
Okay. You get in a fight.
You get it either you're shunned or you get in a fight or you battle for whatever. Like if you had the same name or you had battle, you had to like. Back then, it was like either you battle for the name. If you lose, you change your name, or you battle for money, or you battle for equipment, or whatever. Like some type of or you duke it out. You know, right? So it was even more crazier that you know, like that. You know, so learning that aspect of the philosophy from that, I've always kind of wondered, like, okay, when I'm looking at our own my own culture to grow up, like Filipinos, I always wonder like why. Like I remember going to some like always going to talent shows. The Philippine like like whether the high school Filipino clubs or the college and stuff. They have the modern dance, right?
Yeah.
It was cool. Sometimes it's the only opportunity you can really flex your talent. But I've always seen like when I see rappers or singers and dancers, and that's dope and dope in many ways. But I was like, dude, why are they trying to emulate In Vogue or Take Six, or why they look dancing like the Soul Brothers or Scheme Team and shit, or like that? Like you really, it's like that's cool, and they get their props over there. But then like if you were to do that in the real hip hop scene, you get laughed at, right? And I remember just going like me and a few of us breaking out of the Filipino scene and going to L.A. That's like, and there was like I didn't really. This is the craziest thing. I didn't really experience racism until I started going deep into LA, like more in terms of like like coming into like I was like one of the very few Asians, Filipinos, whatever, going into like to a hip hop club was majority black and Latinos, right?
Club Unity.
Nah, even before that.
Water the Bush.
Water the Bush, Funk Jungle,
Akibalan.
Huh?
Akibalan.
Akibalan.
That's an old school one from South Central.
That might be it. I used to go like I went to Water the Bush, Funk Jungle, United Nations.
United Nations.
United Nations was thrown by Africa Islam from Zulu Nation and Ice-T. They started Rhyme Syndicate and stuff. So that's when you get to see, like you see like De La Soul when they first came out. But even then, before that, like I didn't get to go, but I'd always heard. But I remember going to the 1987 Def Jam tour with L. Cool J, Houdini, Eric B. Rakim, Dougie Fresh, and opening acts were Public Enemy and Stetsasonic. One of my best friends, Eric Sanford, he's like half Filipino, half white. We said, fuck it, we gotta go. Like, man, going to the LA Sports Arena during those times was crazy. And I was like, holy shit, like Samoans, blacks, even whites, but it was like it's just
a bunch of Booyah tribe.
How would they react to you? Because like you got the bald head. Eric has the heavy
I
metal.
I had hair,
long hair. Oh, you do.
I had the pompadour back then, like pompadour tails and
for
shit.
real?
Yeah, hell yeah.
But Eric had the long hair, right?
Yeah,
the heavy metal.
He had long hair and shit like that. But we came in there, and they didn't react. It was just like whatever. But it was just like it was another culture shock. Leaving the like Cerritos and leaving the Filipino scene, and then going to something that's really legitimately like this is like the shit. Like like fuck, you're in hip hop shit. And I was like, holy shit. And then at the same time, that's also when the Crips Bloods and the essays, the gang
still
banging,
popping,
gang banging was like so you got to be. We were during the time in the LA Sports Arena, that's South Central LA right there, like borderline downtown LA, South Central. That's Sports Arena right next to USC, which is kind of next. Like damn, during those times, that shit is crazy. So just to go there to watch the people I grew up listening and shit, and at the same time just like being like, I remember a fight broke out right in front of me, and I didn't even know. I was watching this, and then I heard like, hey, hey, man, you better move the fuck out, or you're gonna get your ass stomped. And I was like,
right, and then that's why the tide now has changed so much, and due to programming's sake. This is the last question I have for you, and you've spent a great amount and dropped a great amount of knowledge. We appreciate that.
Right.
Just to close, Rhett, because as I tie in this cultural event,
right,
and then it becomes a racial event, right? Because that all just tied in right there from what you just said.
Right.
What would you have to say to people that are new to hip hop? And what would you have to say as far as for the lineage, maybe in 2 minutes, what it means to you? So you better do this. Well, if you could do that in 2 minutes.
Damn, you really can't force anybody. I just tell them, look, if you really like it, just do it because you love it from the heart. Don't do it because I'm not gonna lie. When I got into it, of course, it was like got a nerdy, shy kid out of his shell, and then of course it would help me to talk to girls and stuff like that. But I fell in love with this culture. It helped. This culture helped me identify myself as a person and actually appreciate my own Filipino culture. You know, because at the time, you know, I'm like growing up, I was like, oh man, mom, I don't want to, dad, I don't want them to smell the crazy food. And, you know, like I, even having a name, you know, like, you know, I had a, you know, like not a typical, I didn't have a Filipino name, but I didn't have a typical name either, like Rhett. What the hell is Rhett? I didn't know what Rhett was. Now, you know, my birth name is Nazareth. Being my parents are Catholics, they were like, from what they told me, is that they wanted they wanted a boy. They pray to God, and if you give us a boy, we'll name him after your Lord will name him after your birthplace, and that's how I got Nazareth. And that's like, how did I get Rhett? Well, Filipino logic is like, you know, we love Gone with the Wind and Rhett Butler, and you know Nazareth and Rhett that rhymes, so I said Nazareth and Rhett. So Rhett's your nickname, and Nazareth. I was like, what the. You know, I hated my name before when I was growing up because kids would fuck up my name. Anyways, going into what I'm saying is just like, I just say, you know, like,
I love your rat holes, by the way, Red. I'm complimenting you, and I hate to cut you off like that because I want you to finish, but that's an art in its own. So go right ahead. I'm sorry.
So basically, I tell anyone that's, you know, like now, especially with technology and the internet, it's like, yo, find something. Don't be a sheep. Try to think for yourself and look for it. That's how we had to do. You still can do it now. It's just people are just being lazy. Yeah. That's all it is. It's just straight lazy. Yeah.
Call them out.
You know, like, but I don't want to, like, you know, like, I'm not going to force you. You know, like, what's the saying? You
force feeding.
Yeah, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. So, you know, like, the only thing I can do is present it to you, and if you like it, if it connects with you, go for it. You know, like, if not, then shoot. You know, I'm not gonna force you, but if you do like it, do some research. Like, find out why your favorite artist or this and that, or why is this and this. I mean, you have to also understand, like, there's a generation gap, and like, in a lot of these are the younger cats. Hip hop, when they were born, hip hop was already cracking. Yeah. You know, so you can't fault them. I used to be that hardcore, like, yo, man, you fucking up and blah blah blah. now that I'm mature, it's like, you know what? I'm from a different era, so I can't fault them for that. So I don't want to sound like a bitter old guy. It's like, oh, back in the days we did this and this. No, those days are those are my favorite days, but those days are gone. What I can do now is what I'm doing today, and what I can at least hopefully. I don't consider myself a role model, but even if I'm not doing this as a career, this is who I am. It made me who I am and appreciate what I am, and I love doing this. If I was a janitor, I'd still be scratching, you know, cutting it up and shit, you know, like, or
funky janitor,
you know, like, just because it's. Like, you know, they say,
like the Goodwill Hunting of hip hop.
Yeah, he left the vinyl record here on the table.
What I'm saying is, hip hop, the culture is basically, is just like, you don't. It's not like, okay, if I wear this or I buy this or this and this, I'm hip hop. No, it's just you don't say you're hip hop. You just live it. You know, it's a culture. It's like, I may, you know, even compared to, like, I mean, it just, of course, I might have a shirt that looks like a Beat Street shirt, but it's just the way you act yourself, or it's the vibe and stuff. Even today, how even cats, there's even young cats, it's just like, you can tell it's been influenced one way or another. They just might not realize it until they get older. Because we were like that when I thought about it. We were like that. We were like young and dumb. Shit. Still kind of young and dumb, but just, you know, a little bit older. But I'm mature enough to learn to, like, okay, there's other things out there that makes it to what hip hop is. It's just not one thing. There's no one right main answer. There's just little things that makes it what it is. That's just my humble opinion and my experience that I've learned. Like, especially being a Filipino American growing up in the West Coast. Like, and Abel was lucky to experience hip hop when it first came out to the West Coast. You know, just seeing everything that changes and stuff, and able to still doing what I love to do as a career. That's like of course, I would love to have millions of dollars and shit like that, but you know, God willing, I can still do this till I die.
Well, you know, Rhett, that's a hell of a close. And you know, before eras and decades passed by, I wanted to have this. We wanted this interview with you because it's like those artists for the Sistine Chapel. You want to honor them as the art.
Am I that old? Damn.
No.
You're an artifact.
No. I just mean that while you're performing.
Let me tell you, whippersnapper.
No. It's like honoring Kobe Bryant in 06.
Right,
you have to
right.
honor Kobe while it's being celebrated, while the airwaves are blasting his mixes. And
I never thought of that way.
no, man. I mean, it's just one of those things when we chopped it up at Dash.
Yeah. Well, I guess because it's weird because I still do this. I don't think about that. I don't, like, it's cool. I mean, of course, when you're growing up, you want to be like, I want to be the world champion. I want to be best in this. As you get older, you're just like, man, I just happy to do this. That's comes with maturity and stuff. Like now, but I don't think about, and I don't think about it. I guess the saying goes, if you believe your own hype, that's when you fall off.
Right.
So I'm trying not to think like that. Or else once I do that, then shoot me or something like that, and then you become more egotistical and all that stuff. And that's why even going back to the first question about jiu-jitsu taught me to like I'm trying to be but it made me more humble because I always think like this: there's always someone better than you out there. There's always going to be someone better. The only thing you can do is be the best of who you can be, and that applies not only hip-hop, jiu-jitsu, but it applies to everything in life. My instructor Chris Gutierrez said this to me. He's like, you could be the baddest jiu-jitsu fighter, the baddest DJ in the world, but if you're an asshole and have a bad attitude, nobody gonna fuck with you. Straight up.
There it is. And there it is. Thank you so much, Rhett. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.